Hey, it's Camila Stevenson, and around here we talk wealth. And listen, something major just happened this week with XRP, something that most people completely missed. Why? Because it wasn't a price spike, and that's what everybody is looking for. But I need to help you to understand what's going on in the real financial world. And anytime the financial system upgrades its plumbing, any asset pulled into that plumbing is not the same asset anymore. So today I'm going to break down in the clearest way possible what actually happened when XRP was approved as acceptable collateral inside a federally regulated derivatives platform, and why that one decision quietly pushed XRP further into the global financial system than any meme coin, ETF headline, or chat pattern ever could. Because listen, this is not about hype. This is about architecture. Now, before I break it down, let me be clear. This is not financial advice. This is education so you can understand the system you're investing in instead of reacting emotionally to the noise. And if you appreciate these kind of breakdowns where we keep it wise, keep it macro, and keep it real, go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. All right, let's get into it. Again, this week is not about price. It was about placement. XRP was formally approved as acceptable collateral for the CFTC regulated derivatives platform Bitnomial. Now, let me make that simple. Collateral is the asset institutions post to secure a position in the derivatives market. You only use assets that are stable enough, liquid enough, settlement ready, and trusted at the institutional level. This is the same bucket that includes gold, U.S. treasuries, and major FX pairs. You don't put random assets into collateral frameworks. That's like letting anyone off the street vault gold at the Federal Reserve. It just doesn't happen. And in the same week this collateral decision came out, something else important happened. The SEC stayed silent. So this means the CFTC approved XRP as acceptable collateral, and the SEC did not object. And then the DTCC quietly expanded settlement windows, something they only do when modernizing the collateral layer. Family, this is not an accident. This is coordination. Now, I want to break down what collateral status really means. When the CFTC approved XRP as acceptable collateral, they didn't just say, yeah, sure, throw it in the mix. No, collateral is the backbone of the derivatives system. It's the assets institutions trust enough to post when they're taking on leverage or hedged positions. So if you want to simplify it, collateral equals the asset Wall Street is willing to bet millions on. You don't use junk collateral. You don't use hype coins. You don't use assets with weak liquidity. You use assets that have deep liquidity, proven reliability, settlement capability, commodity-like stability, and regulatory clarity. And that's the real headline here, is that XRP just got treated like a commodity-grade settlement asset. Let me give you a few implications of this that nobody's probably explaining in a simple way. Number one, collateral assets get locked, not traded. So once XRP is posted as collateral, it's not floating on exchanges. It's not being flipped. It's not creating volatility. And it's also not increasing circulating supply. It is effectively removed from the open market and held in institutional custody. So when supply tightens and demand starts rising from institutional uses, price doesn't have a choice. It must adjust upward over time. And this is just simple math. Now, number two, you cannot run trillion-dollar derivatives on low-value asset. The derivatives system is massive, over 1 quadrillion globally. Assets used inside that system need to be priced in a way that allows them to handle high-volume settlement and collateralization. This has happened every single time in financial history. Gold rose before it became core derivatives collateral. Bitcoin rose before CME futures adoption. And major FX pairs hold value because they are derivatives backbone. Collateral assets don't chase price. Price re-rates to meet the demands of collateral. Let me say that again. Collateral doesn't follow speculation. Collateral forces valuation. Number three, XRP now sits on balance sheets. This is a big shift. Institutions can now hold XRP as recognized commodity, pledge XRP, lend against XRP, and integrate XRP into structured financial products. Before this decision, XRP was that crypto that SEC was fighting. And now It is stepping into the infrastructure layer of U.S. financial markets. And then number 4, this was not a price story. This was a plumbing story. I have to repeat that because everybody is looking at the charts, waiting on a move. By the time the move happens, you are already too late to the party. And that's why I'm educating you in the macro environment, so that you can align your conviction to the actual macro story, which really gives the sober implications of where this price could move in the near future. So let me reiterate this. Plumbing always moves before price. We saw the pipes shift, but we just haven't seen the repricing yet. But listen, the pipes always move first. Now, with XRP as a commodity, this is going to change everything, because structurally being treated like a commodity means it's not a meme token, it's not a speculative digital asset, and it's not a security under attack. A commodity is in the same functional category as gold, silver, high-grade financial instruments. And here's why commodity status matters far more than people think. Well, it's because, again, commodities are the backbone of the derivatives system. The CFTC only governs commodities and derivatives, and that's it. So for XRP to be allowed in that arena, it means regulators see it as settlement capable, liquid, reliable, stable enough for leverage, and fit for institutional markets. This is infrastructure. I cannot stress this enough. And then commodities are meant to scale. So when an asset becomes part of a derivatives system, its value framework changes. Commodities used in derivatives have to scale to handle margin requirements, collateral coverage, hedging flows, liquidity pools, leverage in general, institutional risk models. You cannot support a $1 trillion derivatives ecosystem with a low-priced asset. It literally does not work. And this is why, again, gold could not stay cheap. Now, some things I am stating more than once so that you can understand it, because I know for sure that people don't understand this. But I want you to get it in a way that resonates with you, especially if you hold XRP, because you should understand the asset that you're holding. The one thing that I love about XRP being a commodity now is that it unlocks balance sheet visibility. So institutions can now legally hold XRP. They can categorize it as an approved asset. They can collateralize it for structured products and integrate it into treasury operations. And this removes one of the biggest barriers that XRP ever had, and that's institutional hesitation around regulatory clarity. And so this decision didn't just move a line in the sand. This moved XRP into the infrastructure layer. Now, also remember that commodity treatment is the pathway to derivatives expansion. So once an asset gets collateral treatment and commodity alignment, it becomes eligible for swaps, options, futures, structured notes, repo markets, collateralized lending, institutional yield products. And this is why collateral matters even more than ETF hype. ETF flows come and go, but collateral systems are permanent. And the real gem behind this, I've explained this, is that commodity treatment tends to come before major repricing, not after, because the system needs stable, scalable valuation before it can run volume across it. So this is financial architecture 101. The infrastructure shifts first, the repricing happens later. And this is huge. And by the way, if you like conversations like this that are helping you to understand real mechanics behind the financial system, and you want to go deeper so you're not guessing or reacting emotionally, you need real education. So I want you to consider investing in Stock Up University. It's easily one of the clearest, most practical programs on charts, options, risk, volatility, and long-term portfolio strategy. If you want to take your understanding to that next level, there is a special discount available through my link in the description. Just use the code when you sign up. All right, so I want to zoom out for a moment because this isn't happening in isolation. There are two major macro forces building behind the scenes, and XRP's new collateral status plugs directly into them. So let me break that down for you really quick. First of all, the world is drowning in debt, and there's only one play left. Governments don't default, they inflate. The only way central banks can survive the next few years is by printing and devaluing their currency to stretch their debt across a bigger money supply. What does that mean for you? If you don't own appreciating assets, inflation eats everything you own. If you do own appreciating assets, inflation works for you. And this is why wealthy people are buying assets aggressively, especially assets that can earn yield in a digital system. And XRP is being positioned for that world. Then you also have institutional accumulation accelerating quietly. Retail looks at the charts, but institutions look at the flow. So here's the flow. We saw around 803 million XRP leave centralized exchanges. Then we saw hundreds of millions move into the ETFs and institutional wrappers. We saw OTC accumulation increase. Vanguard said they'd never offer crypto ETFs, but guess who's absorbing digital asset exposure through fund structures? Vanguard. Then BlackRock hasn't even stepped in at scale yet. Family, listen. These are not retail traders. These are the biggest financial entities on the planet, and they do not accumulate assets thinking that they're going to zero. And then also, Japan may move faster than the United States. So you already saw in my reverse carry trade breakdown how stressed the Japanese FX system is right now. When liquidity breaks, institutions need fast, cheap, settlement-ready collateral. Japan already has deep ties to Ripple. Japan already uses XRP technology, and Japan already has regulatory clarity. And if the FX system cracks under carry trade pressure, XRP could become a liquidity tool before the U.S. even finalizes its Clarity Act. Sometimes the system chooses out of necessity before it chooses out of comfort. Then we also are entering into a moment where labor will not be enough. AI competition is rising. Wages aren't keeping up with inflation. Cost of living is exploding. Most people are being pushed into a world where your job will not save you. Your salary will not protect you. Labor will not outpace inflation, and the only real security will come from the assets you own. This is why assets with both appreciation potential and yield potential will outperform any traditional income route. And now XRP as collateral is stepping into that yield-ready framework. Listen, I need you to see the bigger picture. This is the system rearranging itself, and XRP is being pulled deeper into the architecture. Now, let me bring it all together in a way that you easily understand. What happened this week is not about a pump. It's not about a price catalyst. And it wasn't meant to be exciting. It was plumbing. When you turn on the faucet, you only see water. You don't see the pipes behind the walls. You don't see the pressure regulatories. You don't see the valves open and closing. You don't see the infrastructure that makes the water flow. That's how the financial system works. Charts are the water. Collateral systems are the pipes. Settlement windows are the valves, and regulators are the engineers. Retail only watches the water. Institutions watch the plumbing. And guess what? None of that shows up on a 4-hour chart. None of that creates instant fireworks. And none of that satisfies retail impatience. But the truth is that plumbing changes are foundation for repricing. No other way around it. Infrastructure shifts, then the narrative shifts, then liquidity shifts, then the price adjusts. Utility matures, then the value is recognized, then the markets re-rate the asset. You have collateral status, then institutional adoption, then long-term price discovery. If you only watch price, you'll miss the entire architecture being built. But if you watch the architecture, you're going to understand why price eventually has no choice but to follow. Be encouraged. Even if this is not a bullish week, even if this is not a hype week, this is a structural advancement. This is a confirmation, a placement, a realignment of XRP inside of the global financial system. And those who understand this are already preparing for where it goes. By the time it gets a headline, it's too late. But it did get invited into the financial system back end, into the collateral layer, into the commodity lane, into the infrastructure that institutions use when they're preparing for long-term transition. And if you understand that, then you stop obsessing over every dip. Matter of fact, I would buy the dip. Nothing I say is financial advice. I'm just giving you this for educational purposes. But you must start recognizing the season that we're in. The world is shifting. Liquidity is shifting. Debt is accelerating. Inflation isn't going anywhere. And institutions are positioning quietly while retail is still waiting for fireworks. This is not the moment to get emotional. This is the moment to get educated, to get structured, and to get positioned. And if you're ready to go deeper, not just listening, but actually learning how the system moves, then invest in your education with Stock Up University. It'll help you think like a strategist, not just someone always reacting to the charts. There's a special discount available through the link in the description. Use my code. And listen, if you want more hands-on coaching, I am upgrading my entire coaching ecosystem for 2026. I got new tools, new structures, new trainings, new support, because the season that we're entering in requires clarity, discipline, health, and wealth, not confusion and panic and emotional decision making. If you want to be a part of this community before the new upgrades and the new pricing rolls out, this is the time to come in. The link for the community is in the description. Family, listen, stay calm and stay strategic and stop letting the noise distract you from what the system is quietly preparing for. You better be quietly on the back end preparing too. Stay wise, stay wealthy, and I'll see you in the next video.